Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Dr. Craig Ingstrom, but you can just call me Craig. I am the director of the Center for Teaching Excellence. And today we have with us Dana from Bongo. She will be covering some of the amazing tools that Bongo offers. Specifically, I think most of you are interested in some of the AI components as well as interactive video. So I've asked for some focus on that. I do believe there'll be time for some questions at the end, so please put them in the chat as we move along, or write them down so you're ready to ask them once we get there. Dana, thank you for joining us today, and we appreciate, as always, you giving us your time.
Happy to be here. And no pressure for those that want to join us on camera. When it looks like I'm not looking at you folks, I'm actually looking at you on this screen because I'm going to be back and forth between the product and you. So if anybody wants to join me on camera, I love it because then I can see head nods and kind of understand if we're moving in the right direction. But totally get it if you're not. I believe the chat is open as well, so I might ask some questions along the way just to get everybody's feedback. So if you could have the chat open just so I can see that as well. I'm going to try and manage kind of all these screens at once. Um, Craig knows me well, and I'm definitely, not a super formal presenter, meaning I can take this in any direction we need. So we are a smaller group, meaning we have lots of opportunity to pause, rewind, fast forward, kind of talk about your specific use cases along the way. So let's just make it as collaborative as you guys feel like you want to make it. Um, Starting off, you guys saw hopefully the description of the session. Really, we're going to be here talking about unlocking the use of AI in education and how you can start getting using our workflows today because everything is available that you're going to see at your institution. I also kind of like to call out the logos kind of on the left-hand side here. I am from Bongo. But we are really, really close partners with D2l, which is your LMS provider. I worked there for 15 years and I've been at Bongo for almost 3 years. So I know this platform in and out and really passionate about the technology. But while I am from Bongo, just consider us another feature within the LMS platform. That's how deeply embedded we are along the way. So, like I said, I wanted this hopefully to be a little bit interactive. So if you could use the chat or if anybody does want to unmute, just so I can get some kind of starting point on where we are. At your institution, I know you guys have access to a lot of AI solutions, but I'm curious out of this group here. I'm going to add even a last one. It's not as beautiful in this image here, but of everybody on the call here, what are you using AI for today? Are you using it to create some of your course content? Are you using AI to generate quiz questions? What about providing coaching or even powering some of your assessments? Um, some of you, like I know Craig, he uses it all. So thanks for chiming in, Ani. But it's okay if some of you are in the F category, just because sounds bad. It's not like you get a grade F, but it's just the next letter in the list here. There's a lot of folks out here who aren't using anything, which is totally reasonable. So I'll just give everybody a second. Just pop a letter in the chat here, just so I have context into where we are. Okay, I can see lots of people typing, so I will just kind of move forward here, but please just make sure you keep adding that in here because it gives me good examples that I can call out along the way. But really, the kind of punchline that I'm going to ruin is that we're going to be talking about number C and D mostly today. So how can you provide real-time feedback and coaching as well as power authentic assessments using AI? And the reason we're going to be doing that is that there's a lot of folks out there who are creating course content and generating quiz questions. You're going to even see a bit of quiz question generation in our workflows here. And that's amazing. It helps you scale your time. It helps you move quicker. It helps you spend more time on things that are important to you and kind of brings out some of that laborious work. But not a lot of folks are using AI for coaching and feedback. So that's why I want to show you what tools are available to you today. Generally, because I'm not sure we're going to get through every single workflow here, and nobody likes death by PowerPoint, so I'm going to spend most of my time in the product itself. I like to just give you a summary so you know the art of the possible, and I always like to volunteer my time. You can reach out to me through Craig, or even I think my email's in the invite if you want to reach out directly. If we don't get to all of these workflows today, I'm happy to spend some time kind of digging into those. But generally, Bongo is really around enabling, and sorry, I should say video assignments. That's the terminology that you're going to see within Brightspace itself. But video assignments is really around enabling learners to practice their skills, and they're going to receive lots of real-time feedback. So I'm going to show you how they can receive that feedback via AI, so it's instant. And those videos can even be scored and evaluated using AI, which we're going to focus on today. But of course, there's always the opportunity for manual evaluation. We support 4 workflows in Brightspace today, so you have access to every single one of these. The first one we're going to spend some time on today is called individual assessment. And that is where an individual can come on camera and do a presentation. So that's your, maybe typical oral presentation, or you can demonstrate a physical skill. So we support a lot of disciplines like medical or nursing where, you need somebody has to showcase they can check somebody's blood pressure, or even we have some institutions who have mechanics who are working on a car in a shop and they want to record themselves doing that. So anytime it's just an individual who's displaying a skill. The second workflow, my favorite one as a product nerd, is our question and answer. This one, I'm going to show you how you can set up more of a high stakes scenario where you're actually putting a learner on camera to answer questions in a limited amount of time. So you can think about that as a more modern way of doing maybe an oral quiz, or you can actually simulate conversations back and forth. Interactive video, Craig mentioned at the beginning, is of some interest to you folks. So hopefully we have time to get to that one. I'll definitely make sure we carve out even a few minutes for it. This one is less around the AI functionality and more around answering that challenge that many of you probably face. And that is, I have this video content that I need my learners to consume. So, a 3-minute video overview of something, or even an hour-long video if you really wanted to. And the challenge is you don't know if your learners are watching them. You don't know if your learners are understanding the content or absorbing anything. Maybe they just went and made a coffee and hit play and they assume they're going to get credit. With interactive video, you can embed knowledge checks along the way, and that ensures that both the learner is paying attention but also understands the content. And last but not least, and I will forewarn, we might not have time to get to this one, but just know it exists. And again, I can spend time with any of you folks after, and that is group work. Group work, in a nutshell, is your one-stop shop for all tools that you need to make a group successful in completing assignment. So things like collaboration tools, having virtual meeting spaces, being able to assign tasks to groups, being able to submit work together, whether that is a video presentation or simply just a document, and having groups be able to evaluate each other and provide peer feedback that goes to instructors for them to be able to evaluate as well. So with that being said, I want to kick into mostly being in the product since you guys have access to this today and you want to know what you can do. But first, I forgot, I just want to make sure that you understand that in a demo, obviously I can't cover every single feature or functionality because that would take too much time. Just know that you have a ton of feedback and evaluation options available to you in any of these workflows. I think we have 15, I think, total types of ways that you can evaluate learners, but they fall into 4 pretty specific categories. And those are the option, fully, and I want to emphasize option, to fully automate these workflows with AI. Meaning you can use our AI to help you create these or come up with ideas for these assignments. You can use AI for the learners to get feedback while they're practicing some of these assignments, and you can use AI even to score those learners as well. The reason I emphasize optional is maybe that's not in line with what your goals are for your course and you want to, be fully manually going through all of this work with the students, and that's totally fine. I'm going to show you that this is just a tool in your tool belt that you can use. Additionally, you can do a combo pack, as I call it. So you can have, use AI in some ways to help you craft some of these assignments and even coach learners, but you are ultimately also involved from an instructor perspective in evaluating learners. Third category is all things manual from an instructor perspective. That's your more traditional way of doing assignments. And I also do like to categorize peer review in and on itself because it allows you to have all of your learners within your courses interacting and evaluating each other. So again, just know that that's available across all these workflows. I'm going to be focusing, because this is an AI session, a little bit more on the AI side so you can see the art of the possible. So I'm going to set some context and then we're going to dive in. What I'm going to be showing you first is that individual workflow. And the individual workflow is around, again, that student coming or that learner coming on camera and either doing a traditional presentation or physically doing something on camera to demonstrate a skill. So in this scenario, I had to just pick something generic. But again, in the chat, if you could please put in the disciplines that you're responsible for, the types of courses that you're teaching. As I go through these, I will also add everything that you put into the chat and provide real life examples of the types of courses that you're either in charge of or involved in so that I can make this a little bit more personalized for you. But in this specific example, I'm going to show you, that I am an instructor in this first stage, and I want to validate my learners understand the course content and that they're able to turn around and present on the material. I also want to make sure that these learners are getting feedback while they're practicing. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to give the learners this safe place to practice without feeling concerned that they're going to get, judged just yet by a human evaluator. So they're going to get some AI feedback along the way. Once they feel confident after practicing over and over again as many times as they'd like, I'm going to show you how they can submit and get evaluated. I'm also going to utilize, as the instructor in this scenario, the AI as a co-pilot for me. And what I mean by co-pilot is I'm going to ask the AI to suggest to me some potential scoring and feedback that the learner should get based on what they've submitted. But ultimately, it's going to be up to me as the instructor to decide on the final score. So what you're going to see me do is kind of switch personas a couple times. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in as the instructor or course author, whoever's going to build these assignments, and I'm going to build that individual assignment. The next thing you're going to see me do is I'm going to go in as a learner, and I'm going to complete that exercise so you can see what it looks like for them. And then last but not least, I'm going to flip back to the evaluator so you can see what it looks like for me to provide that final assessment and give some personalized feedback. Like I mentioned, I had to just pick a generic discipline. So this is just going to be a lot of business course related stuff. So business presentations. But again, if you can put in the chat what disciplines that you work with or around, that's going to help me really give you guys some more specific ideas. So like I mentioned, I am first going to build this individual assignment. So what I've just done is I've switched my screen here, and I am now in a bright space environment. Um, if you have video assignments enabled or Bongo enabled in your course, you'll see this video assignments nav bar here at the top. And I've just selected or pre-selected already that I'm going to create that individual assignment. For those of you on the call who have worked with us for a long time, you might notice this screen has just gotten a nice refresh to make it more in line with Brightspace and feel like you're in a complete experience. So at the top here, I still am in Brightspace, just for clarity. We are wrapped then inside the environment. You never have to leave it. Anything below this nav bar line here is now Bongo iframed into the experience. Now on the left-hand side, we have created this nice wizard, I'd like to call it, which provides you a really easy step-by-step list of what you need to do to create this assignment. Now the generic business course I've decided to create here is a presentation I want my learners to do on how to communicate like a leader. And it's as simple as that, as putting in your title. Now I have some instructions I would write out. And in these instructions, I would say, hey, learner, I want you to do this presentation, make it 5 to 7 minutes long, make sure you're covering this course content, and, use the AI tools to get feedback before you're ready to submit. Now that's your traditional text instructions. We also do support the ability to have video-based instructions, which I highly recommend. This allows you as the instructor, or maybe you have some pre-recorded video content you want to include, to come on camera and actually talk them through the assignment. It just adds that personalized touch, especially if you're managing fully online courses where you don't have as much interaction with your learners. This provides you an opportunity to be a face on the screen and make them feel like they're involved in this learning process. Now, the next step, now that I have my instructions to my learners, is I want to choose what kind of evaluation type I want. So this is when you heard me reference in the PowerPoint slide, we have a plethora of options available. I, in this example, want to choose the AI functionality because this is kind of why we're here, is what can you do from an AI perspective? And the one I want to choose is called Smart Scoring. So when I click on any one of the evaluation types, you're going to see a definition so you know exactly what it's supposed to be for. And this is where the AI coach is going to automatically score whatever the learner has submitted as their final presentation so that it becomes a co-pilot for you to get kind of a starting point on how well the learner did. We do have this option to automatically publish the score to the learner immediately after they submit, but I think I'm going to leave that off for now because I want to show you what it looks like to have the AI simply suggest to you as an instructor what should be done, but you still ultimately decide. Now, usually the next question I get is how the heck would this AI or our AI have any idea what this assignment is about? How would it know that this is supposed to be a presentation on how to communicate like a leader? That's where you're going to go into our section called learning objectives, or sometimes I like to refer to it as presentation objectives. This is where you're going to give the AI context into what this assignment is. And you're going to do that by generating learning objectives. And what this is it allows you to take course content or reference materials that you have in the course that you're asking the learners to read or consume as part of the pre-work for this presentation. So what I've done on my other screen is I just copied a how to communicate like a leader section of the textbook that we had asked the learners to read. And I'm going to click generate. And what this does is it allows our AI to consume the resources that you've asked the learners to digest themselves, and it'll turn around and provide what the AI suggests as the higher level learning objectives or the success of criteria for this presentation. And right away in real time, you can see it created 4 higher level objectives of this presentation. So evaluate the role of listening, apply tactical communication, demonstrate the importance, etc. I'll let you read it kind of on the screen here. And under each one of those objectives, we have sub-criteria. And it's this sub-criteria that makes the success of the higher level objective. So in order to do well on evaluating the role of listening, the learner would need to, as part of their presentation, discuss the importance, identify these techniques, and provide examples. So as the author or the instructor, whoever's creating this assignment, you now have full ability to edit this. So this is just the first iteration and the first recommendation. You can say, you know what? I really like this higher level objective and I want them to discuss the importance of this and identify these techniques, but I don't really care if they provide examples. So I'm going to uncheck that one. You also have the opportunity to remove an entire objective. Maybe you don't care about this entire section, so I'm just going to go ahead and uncheck that whole thing. So I kind of refer to this step as like massaging the initial objectives that come out. Once you hit OK, you now have full edit capabilities. So you can come down here now and each one of these objectives will have a pencil icon. You can click on that and you can go ahead and even change the entire sentences, maybe delete this again now that you've put more thought into it. We just create that initial run of the objective so that we create the proper scaffolding from a technical perspective in order to ensure that our AI understands what the expectation of this presentation is. Now that's an example of me just running it once, and I've come down to 3 objectives. I can do that again. So I can copy in more content. I can even copy in the same content and just see if the AI has suggested anything additionally that I might want to add. It could be, a script from a video. It could be even your success criteria from a rubric that you've used in the past. There's lots of opportunity for you to ingest a ton of information and then use that to create the basis of what success for this presentation looks like. Again, if you guys have any questions, please just unmute or put in the chat. I'll just keep going, assuming this all makes sense to everybody, but would love if anybody does have any questions to let me know. So
there is one
yeah,
question. Can I pull?
Sorry, Craig, can you just wait 1 second? I just realized my Bluetooth has decided to disconnect in a weird way, so I can hear you, but it's very scratchy. So just 2 seconds. This has happened before, so I know how to fix it. There you go, Craig.
All right. Am I less scratchy?
Yes. No, you're good.
Thought maybe I was on auto tune or something. Yeah. So the question is, can AI pull questions like this out of a video as well as from the text? What I'm thinking, if the instructor has done a lecture, for example, will they be able to just use the video that they already have? My thought was they'd probably just pull the TXT file and upload that, right, of their transcript. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so when you're talking about like generating questions that you want the learners to be able to respond to, I'm going to show you how to do that in the next workflow, which is question and answer. But the shorter answer is you just would take the transcript from any video you want and copy in that text in order to generate things. Right now, all of our generation tools require text, so you can't just upload a video, but that's coming. So it's on our very shorter term roadmap where we're going to be able to ingest things like videos or PDFs and stuff like that. But today you just need to make sure you have things in text. And now I'm catching up because for some reason, while I was presenting, just Craig's first comment on E personally was the last chat I saw. So now that I've refreshed my screen, I can see that you guys were adding some more comments in there. So my apologies if I've missed anything else. And thank you, Craig, for jumping in. Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm reading this out loud. So we got some interior design studio design history. That's great. We've got math. Math. I've got some awesome examples for you as well. Business ethics, tax research, foreign language, language learning. Okay, these are all amazing examples. So I will make sure when we get into the student experience, I talk a little bit about how you can utilize some of the workflows for that as well. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for getting me back into there. So from hopefully I answered that question. You do need to use text today. So if it is a video, just use your transcribe your auto captions from that. And you can run this as many times as you would like. So now the AI has context into what this presentation is, which is awesome. This is going to allow you to have the ability to have your learners be coached while they're practicing because the AI will understand how staying on track is important. And then additionally, you can use this as your scoring criteria and you'll see how that's going to impact you from an instructor perspective and being able to kind of get a little bit quicker through your evaluation process. So I will also call out that peer review is an option. So I have that set up so I can show you what that looks like. This means once a learner has submitted their presentation, you can have them review each other's, give each other some feedback, even score each other, and all of that information can be fed back to the instructor for determining kind of final results. So we've checked off now that what you're going to see from a build assignment perspective. The second step I want to talk about is now what does it look like to complete that exact assignment as a learner? So I'm going to come in now back into Brightspace under a different persona. So I am in now as a student. I am in a Brightspace course here. And underneath this Brightspace course, I've created just a Brightspace module, and all of these links represent Bongo video assignments that I've created. This is how seamlessly we are integrated into Brightspace, meaning we are just an item listed in the content tool alongside everything else that you've created in your course. So a learner could have done a Brightspace quiz or read some Brightspace content, and then they're just clicking to the Bongo video assignment, and it feels like the same continuous experience for them. So I'm going in now as that learner, and I am presented with my instructions on the right-hand side, which I kind of described what it was going to look like. This is my assignment on how to communicate like a leader. Here's my text-based instructions. And here is my nice engaging video from my instructor on what is expected of me. I can see her, I can get to know her, and that's really great. I should note that all videos that you create as an instructor or that the students create themselves can be auto-captioned, so you can kind of check that accessibility box. Now, we also do display to the learner those higher level learning objectives. So I'd already pre-created this, so I had 7 total objectives so that the learner has context into what success means to them. We don't include the sub-criteria because that's the very granular and specific way that they would be scored. This just gives them that guiding light into what success looks like. Now, as a learner, I'm going to come down here, and the first time I access this assignment, this screen will be displayed. And this allows me to decide how it is that I want to prepare my presentation. So I can simply come on camera and do a presentation. That's what this example is going to be. It's very much like what I'm doing today in this session, where it's just me on camera and I'm talking through my presentation. We also have the ability to share camera and screen, and this is when I got excited. Somebody said they had math, for example. We're seeing a huge increase in the camera plus screen share for disciplines that you wouldn't think video would be a part of. And that is math, that is accounting, that is coding classes. And what I mean by that is we are in a world right now where unfortunately cheating is something that is becoming a big concern. This is an AI session, but hopefully you're seeing AI for good. There are tools out there now that are allowing learners to, potentially cheat by having AI do their math problems, by having AI come up with their accounting sheet or doing their coding, and then the learner is just submitting an asset that they had nothing to do with. So we're seeing this really massive increase in using video assignments to have learners come on camera and share their screen at the same time and doing one of two things. One could be you're actually asking them to do the math problem live. So whether that's on their computer, if they have the technology to do that, or even just angling their camera down to a piece of paper and they're just verbalizing what they're doing as they're doing it. Or same with coding. I'm going to verbalize or show that I'm coding live on camera. Or they might have already done the coding or created the math assignment and they're still just being asked to share on screen and talk through what they learned. How did they apply what they did in their course? And how are they understanding the impact of the asset that they've created? So this one is a really, really great tool to think about those kinds of assignments in a different way. And it just really authentically, or it shows that they are authentically understanding the information themselves. We do also support audio only. So for those that are doing language learning or foreign language learning, sometimes being on camera doesn't matter as much. So we do have an audio option only where they can practice speaking different languages. Our system supports, I think, 8 or 9 languages now. We add them as required. The system will automatically detect if they are speaking French or Spanish, for example, and it will be able to translate that properly. And you can have these opportunities for them to practice speaking those languages on camera. So in this example, like I mentioned, and again, add more to the chat here if there's anything you want to add to that. In this example, we're just going to do a traditional oral presentation on how to communicate like a leader. These tabs across the top here represent my learner, Cindy, who's been in here practicing already. She can practice this many times as she wants. She could be in here 50 hours if she really wanted to. There's 0 limitations on it. But in this example, she has practiced 2 times. The first time that Cindy practiced, what you'll see, and again, I have this blown up very large on my screen because I have a big computer. So if you guys can't see or have troubles, let me know. But Cindy has, I'll make that a little bit smaller. There we go. Cindy has recorded her first attempt here on the left-hand side. And what you'll see on the right-hand side is that the learner has immediately gotten some feedback from our AI on how well she has done her presentation. And again, the AI has the context because we, in our last step, had already fed in that information to the system. So it understands this is about how to communicate like a leader, and it knows what the guiding principles are for success. So she gets this high-level summary initially, but where she can kind of get the meat of the feedback is under detailed analysis. When she clicks that, she has an immediate dashboard at the top where she can get a visual understanding of how well she's doing so far. Things like, is she speaking clearly? Is she mumbling? Or what words is she mumbling? Filler words, which is a consistent issue in education, especially as we're working with learners and trying to get them career ready. There's a lot of ums and likes that we need to get out of the vocabulary. Same with speaking rate. That's traditionally always been a bit of a tough one. So it's important for learners to practice speaking at an appropriate rate. And that gives them a snapshot. But when they want to get into the meat of it, like I mentioned, they can scroll down and see their transcript. So this is where everything that they've said in whatever language they have spoken will be translated for them. They can now search or filter through that transcript and understand things like, what were those filler words? My dashboard up there is saying I did really poorly. I can now get highlighted that, okay, Cindy is saying a lot. So she's really got to focus on that. But what I like the most, and I think is kind of the focus of this whole session, is the tips and feedback area. The tips and feedback area is where the AI has that context to what the objectives and that sub-criteria of success are. And it can then start to give really personalized feedback to Cindy on what she's doing well and what she's not. So she can see here things like areas of excellence. She did briefly emphasize the importance of authenticity. She can click on it and see what she said, so she knows what to keep in or not. She does know she's got to remove those ums and ahs from the previous screen, so that's something she can take note of. But most importantly, it's what does she need to do to improve? This is the kind of feedback that she really needs in order to be successful. And most often, we all know, these learners are practicing these presentations sometimes at midnight. So they need the opportunity to still feel like they're going to get personalized feedback when they are ready to be practicing. So she can see that she did not provide clear examples. I like these kinds of ones where it talks about she lacked depth. So it's not just you needed to provide, a list of examples. It's, did you go deep enough? Were you clear enough? Did you have the right kind of transitions? It's really, really insane how personalized and specific this feedback can get using generative AI. So in this example, Cindy now says, you know what? I feel like I should have done better. So she is going to go ahead and practice again. So in this example, she has re-recorded herself. On the right-hand side here, we can see that she's getting some definite, more positive feedback. I do want to highlight that it does say there's room to engage or to improve a little bit more. But for sake of this presentation, I'm going to submit it anyways because I want to show you what that does to the AI and how it gives feedback to the instructor on how she should be scored based on how well she did. So all the learner needs to do is prepare her submission. Hopefully you remember me saying kind of at the beginning here that this individual workflow is very much about allowing learners a safe place to practice. So it allows for her to choose which one she would like to submit. And Craig, I'm noticing for whatever reason, the chat isn't live for me. I keep having to click back and forth to get it to refresh. So if there's anything important or time sensitive that I'm not seeing, just make sure to call it out for me.
Will do.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and submit my second attempt. You do have the option to attach notes. Sorry, that was below the video. She could have done that. So back to some of the other disciplines. Maybe when you're doing the math, they're doing the math assignment live on a piece of paper, and that's what they're recording with their camera. They can just take a quick picture of it and attach it as well. So you have not only the video of them talking through it, but now you have an asset or an attachment that you can also provide some feedback on. Or again, the balance sheet example, or any other type of assignment notes you want them to include. For now, I'm just going to submit that video and show you what it looks like now to have the opportunity for some peer review. Now, I'm going to come off camera for a second on here because I'm going to be in camera on the tool itself for a second here. But I have this now set up with an option to do post-submission instructions. Totally optional. You know, that could have been the end of the assignment. She submitted it and off it goes. But now you have the option to give them some more instructions. So in this one, I have said, great job on completing your assignment. Now I want you to do some peer review and also, maybe do some self-reflection. So what this looks like is I have been in here already kind of showcasing what peer review looks like, but it allows you to watch, it will serve you up kind of the next peer in line. So here is my peer. And as I'm watching her video, I can come in and start giving her some feedback. And you'll note that as I'm typing, it pauses and gives me a moment to reflect on what I want to type out without kind of bogging me down with the audio. And I can just submit that comment. But what I like is this option. So I can come in here and, just going to allow some video here. I can come in here and now just record my feedback really quickly and say, hey, Cindy, great job. But in class, we had talked about how you should focus on this and you didn't. So maybe work on that next time. And that was just such a simple way of me adding some feedback that's a little bit more personalized to my peer. And then you can see the video continues and it allows me to have the opportunity to continue giving some feedback. Now, we do have the option for anonymous peer review. Sorry, that word escaped me for a second here. So if you don't want the ability for your learners to see, to know who is providing feedback, the video will be disengaged and then the names will be anonymized as well, because we know that's really important. So that is the experience for the learner. If we go back to our kind of list of items here, we just finished building the assignment and then we completed the assignment as the learner. Now I want to show you what it looks like for the evaluator to go back in and provide some feedback and assess the final score. So not to make you too dizzy, I'm back in the exact same course now as an instructor. And I'm going to go to that assignment, which is located in the content tool of Brightspace. So I'm in the new content experience. This also is the same as classic content, depending on which ones you use in your course in Brightspace. And in this module, I have this individual assignment. Now, as an instructor, when you're clicking on the individual assignment, we surface up what's called our learner overview dashboard. So this provides you a really, really good overview of exactly where everybody is in that course related to completing this assignment. It's a demo assignment, so I only have a few learners in this course, but if you're supporting courses that are 50, 100 learners long, it's a really great opportunity to see where everybody's kind of progressing. Now, we do include this nice big banner for those that are choosing to use AI. Just as a reminder, we like to kind of handhold everybody along the way to ensure they understand how things work. So you can always access more information on how the AI works. We always link back to those learning objectives you created so you can have that kind of memory or jog of what success looks like. And then you can come in and choose which learner that you want to validate and evaluate. So Cindy here, who we just submitted as, she's been evaluated by the AI, but it's not yet published. Sorry. When I click on Cindy, this is where you're going to see her evaluation screen. And at the top here, you're going to see what the suggestion from the AI is on how well she did. And I say suggestion because it's not until you publish the score down here on the right that anything will go to the gradebook. Now you can see that she got 28 out of 35 and you want to know what that means. So all you're going to do is click show details, and underneath you're going to see all of those high level objectives that we created together with a score on how well she did. Now you can come in and see the details of that score at any time. So if you click on that, the AI is simply walking you through the sub criteria of the presentation, what the learner said, what they didn't say. They didn't provide any examples, for example, and it walks you through the decision making on that score. Now you can validate that score by watching back the video. You have access to the full transcript and the AI feedback, so under this detailed analysis. So if you prefer just to read the presentation, you have that option. If not, you can also watch her presentation. You can watch it on under advanced settings. You can speed that video up and watch it, 3x in speed if that's how you prefer. And then based on that, you have full rights to change it. You can come up here and just go plus or minus and say, you know what, I think I'm going to give her extra credit because after, consuming that, I think she did better than the AI is suggesting. And then you can hit save and publish, and that would automatically go to the Brightspace gradebook. So no additional steps you need to do there. But maybe you also want to provide some personalized feedback. You have the option as the same thing that you saw in peer review. You have the option to watch back her video. I could start typing and it'll pause. But you as the instructors also have the additional option of using comment banks. So you can create comments that you use consistently that are going to help you just scale back or sorry, scale up your feedback in a quicker way. You do have, like I mentioned, access to the AI feedback that the learner has. You have that context, but you also have access to anything she didn't submit. So all of her attempts, her practice attempts. And for us, we found this, really positive feedback from educators who say this is a great tool for them to know if students are using the tools that are being provided to them to help improve over time. So if you have a learner who's consistently, not doing so great, but hasn't been using any of these tools, it's a great way to work with them and say, practice first before you submit. And then if I hit publish again, just a reminder, automatically goes to the gradebook. Everything is handled for you, and you don't have to do any other next kind of steps related to that. Okay, I've just refreshed the questions. So I'm just taking a sec here. Okay, great. Thank you for all the tips. Okay, so the only thing I will call is D2l itself has a feature called video notes, so you can give quick video feedback on assignments, discussions, etc. That is a great tool as well. It's definitely not the Bongo tool, so it doesn't have any kind of the AI capabilities, but it is a really quick and fast way to provide kind of one direction feedback. Okay, for sake of time, we're going to rock through the next one here. So like I said, we're going to spend most of our time in individual and question and answer, but I do want to make sure we can look at interactive video as well. But we're ready to move on to our next scenario. And that is question and answer. So individual, which I just showed you, it provides lots of opportunities for the learners to practice, to spend a lot of time kind of honing that skill and then presenting on some material before they submit. Question and answer kind of moves more into that high stakes scenario. So it allows you to provide opportunities for learners to answer questions or demonstrate a skill in a timed fashion and without preparation of what those questions are going to be. So it is definitely more geared towards like quizzing. But you could also set this up, like I mentioned earlier, as a simulated conversation. So we see almost every discipline use this for career readiness. So, simulating a conversation with a customer or simulating a conversation with a potential client, in business classes, for example. So lots of opportunities there. In this scenario, just so I can show you what it looks like, I'm going to use this as more of a quiz. And I'm going to use the exact same material I used in the first one, just to show you how you can build different assessments on the same content. So what I'm going to show you is that I want to validate my learners understand the course content by putting them in a high stakes situation. So I want them to answer knowledge checks in a limited amount of time. And I want this time, instead of the assessment being marked by me as the instructor, I actually want it to be instant. I want the learner to get their score right away and have the AI do that for me. That is completely optional. So that's just what I'm going to showcase today. You could have this be sent to you for review as well. So we're going to do the same kind of steps. I'm going to build the question and answer assignment. Next, you're going to see me complete the assignment as a learner, and then, of course, what it looks like for the AI to provide that feedback. So we are back in as the instructor in a Brightspace course. I've clicked on video assignments nav bar here, and I'm going to click the plus button down here, and I'm going to create a question and answer assignment. So exact same workflow, which is really handy now across all of our workflows. It's just an easy step-by-step guide. Same thing, instructions. So instead of, this is going to be more of a quiz on the same content, so how to communicate like a leader. I'm going to give them instructions that say, answer these questions. It's going to be a little bit longer in the real thing, and you're going to have only a short amount of time to do it and be prepared. I'm going to add my video like I did in the last one. From an evaluation perspective, I'm also going to choose smart scoring like I did with the previous one, but this time I'm actually going to automatically publish the scores to the learner. Now, here's where the generate one, like you had mentioned, Craig, earlier, is around generating questions. So instead of generating, in the first one, they were more presentation guidelines. This is going to be, what are the questions I want to ask my learner based on the course content? So same thing, you're not seeing it on my other screen, but I'm copying the text from my textbook on how to communicate like a leader, and I'm going to hit generate. And what it's going to do is consume all that content in real time, and then it's going to turn around and recommend two things. It's going to recommend the questions I should be asking, but it's also going to generate what the response criteria should be. So it's not just, what question you should ask. It's going to be the full breadth of the assessment, what you're going to ask, and then the response. It's always going to generate 5 questions to begin with, but then it allows you to add additional runs. So instead of running new content in, you can actually just ask it to come up with more questions based on this specific content that I've fed it in. So there we go. It has come up with the first 5. So here's the list. Under each one is then the response criteria. Now, maybe I don't like this one or this one, and I want 5, so I'm going to just hit show more. Going to add more. Okay, I like this one, so I'm going to keep that. Just like the last workflow, I can select, that first iteration of questions, and here's my questions themselves. But then I can come into each one individually and edit it furthermore. So, maybe I want to add a little bit more context to the question. Maybe I want me to be on camera asking them the question so it feels personalized, so I can record that. I can actually give questions different weights as well. So maybe the first question is worth 3 points and the next question is going to be worth 5 because it matters a little bit more. And I can also come in here and start providing, maybe changing up what the response criteria looks like. I want to pause on the response criteria because hopefully this will make sense when I show you the learner experience. We are not asking the learner to memorize a script because that's not learning. So we are not saying you have to know verbatim what the response criteria is. Our AI is smart enough to understand if the learner is responding generally the same. So it understands synonyms. It doesn't care if the sentences are in different orders. It structurally understands what a good response is and will be able to provide a score from there. You have some flexibility on if you want to show or hide the question from the learner after it's been asked. So maybe almost always this is left on, meaning while they're responding, the question is still up on screen. But you can have it where they get asked and then the question gets, disappears because the point is they're supposed to be actively listening. Now you have some flexibility now with how you want the learner, and you can run that as many times as you want, just like the previous one. With this one, you have a bit of flexibility in how you want the learners to respond. So you could, again, only have microphone. Maybe that's second language training where you don't have to be on camera, but you can be camera and on microphone, which I'll show you in my example. Screen share, again, I get kind of excited about this one for the non-obvious use case, and that are, a lot of math quizzes are timed. So maybe you want to actually put them in a position where they are having to respond to a math problem in 3 minutes, and they have to show their work and share their screen as they're doing that. That is an opportunity for you to make, a quiz kind of more interactive. And ensure that they are authentically who they are when they are completing their math assignment. Or second language training, you could be having a conversation instead of this being a quiz. It could be, even just asking a learner, like, how was your day? And ensuring they're responding in French and having that kind of conversational style. When it comes to how they respond, not only can you choose the media, but you can also choose things like if you want the recording to delay, meaning the question comes up and then you give them a moment to catch their breath, which is a really nice feature. You can control how long they talk. So you could have it upwards of 2 hours if you really wanted to. Haven't seen that very often. But maybe the point of it is it's supposed to be short, so succinct. You only get 60 seconds to respond, and then our system will kind of cut them off and move to the next question. We do have the option for retaking. Most often that's off because this is considered a little bit more high stakes. But if you do want it to be more of a practice where they can, oh, I flubbed that one and I want to redo it, you can do that as well. And we do have the same things like peer review. I'm going to leave that off for now because I simply want this one to be about testing my knowledge. So we've just completed that first step of building a question and answer. And now I'm going to go ahead and complete the assignment as a learner as I refresh this chat here. Okay. I'll come back to that in a second. So now we're going back in as a learner. And I'm going to go into this question and answer experience. So the exact same assignment we just created, I'm going to have to come off camera again, just because I'm going to be in the platform itself. And the look and feel is very similar across a lot of our workflows, so the learners know what's expected of them. So here is my video from my instructor saying, based on this course material, you're going to have to respond to some questions. Good luck, and wait a couple minutes at the end because you're actually going to receive your score right away, which is handy. Now I'm going to come down here and it just asks me to activate my recorder, make sure it can see my camera. Here we go. And I will note that in the real world, the learner has no idea what questions are about to be asked of them. This is not the real world. And I want to make sure that I can show you what it looks like when a learner responds correctly and not correctly or incorrectly. That was grammatically incorrect. So what I'm going to do is respond to the first one correctly. And it's not verbatim what the response criteria is. I changed up the words a little just to show you. And then the second one, I'm going to very purposely get it wrong. That way you can see how the scoring works. So it's as simple as me saying, okay, let's start a question and let's get going. Well, providing context and communication assists team members by offering the necessary background information to grasp the full meaning of the message. It enables them to see the broader perspective, understand how their tasks connect to the organization's objectives, and makes better informed choices. So hopefully you saw I was kind of waving frantically in the corner there for a second. That is an optional feature that we have where you can actually record their reaction to the question that's being asked. So I find that's really handy, especially when you're doing simulated conversations, for example. Are they making eye contact? Or even if this is a quiz, are they fumbling around? Are they reaching for their phone? What are they doing? You want to know that they are paying attention and ready for the next question. So we're going to do one more, and then I'll talk a bit about the features. Well, active listening helps leaders communicate effectively by showing respect for team members' viewpoints and building trust. However, it doesn't significantly impact a leader's understanding of their team's concerns or ideas, as leaders can still make decisions without needing to fully engage in active listening. So hopefully we realize that was a terrible response. Excuse me. Now I have this one set up for retakes just so I could show you what that looks like. So I could say, you know what, I really didn't like my answer, so I'm going to retake that. If it wasn't on for retakes, it would just automatically submit. But now I'm going to manually choose to submit my assignment. I feel good about that. And right away, it tells me it's pending evaluation. You'll remember that when I read through the instructions, it told the learner just give it a couple minutes because you're going to get your score right away. Now, while that's processing, I will talk about a couple other features. So like you saw, we had the record my reaction, which was a really good one. If you didn't want that, you could and I'll just point out how quick was that. I just got scored, so we'll come back to that in a second. You can have a nice little clock count them down if you want to give them 10 seconds, 20 seconds to catch their breath before they respond. And kind of back to the cheating, which nobody likes to talk about, but it is here. If you're worried about everybody just calling each other up and saying, hey, this is what the questions are, we do support question banks. So you could have, 20 questions and then randomize 5 to each student. So it feels like you have an opportunity to kind of combat that a little bit. Now, I have right away, as my learner, received a 6 out of 10. Like I mentioned, I specifically got the first one fully correct so that you could see that score. But the second one, I very obviously got incorrect. Even if you've never taken this course, we all know that that was a poor answer. So I can see as a learner, I got 1 out of 5. When I click on that, I can then start understanding and digesting why. So I got 1 out of 5 on response 2. I click on this, and the same kind of look and feel you saw from instructor perspective, it walks me through, what did I say? I didn't address this. The speaker only partially addressed this. They did not address this, for example. So it gives them a really good opportunity to, in the moment, understand how well they're digesting the material. I do like to call out, just because I used to work at D2l and I understand how the gradebook works. Um, this is a really great opportunity for you to use this in a couple ways. You could do this as a straight quiz. The score matters. It's going to go to the gradebook, 6 out of 10. You could have it where it goes to you first, you validate it, and then again, it still goes to the gradebook. Or you can set this up as a gamification activity, meaning it goes to the gradebook, but you can change the gradebook column to not count towards the final grade, as an example, and just set this up as a, end of module gamification check. Test your knowledge. You can put in the instructions. This isn't going to count towards anything. This just allows you to also practice your soft skills of speaking out loud and ensuring you can articulate what you've learned along the way, while also getting some really important feedback on, are you missing the mark, or are you really understanding the solution? So there's a question around how easy are these tools for students on mobile device? So we are fully mobile accessible. So you access us through Brightspace. So there's no way to directly get to us. So you would have learners access Brightspace just as they would in a browser. And then we are, which Brightspace is fully browser capable as well. When they click on that link in the content tool to access us, all of that is a mobile screen. And they can just choose their camera, for example, if they want to record on their phone.
There was another question earlier on,
Oh, yeah.
and does does it integrate with other grade books, like, for example, Pearson, MLM? My Math Lab is, I think, what that means.
Right now, everything just goes through to the Brightspace gradebook.
Got it.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm skimming some of the questions. So there's a lot of video assets I believe that Craig is sharing, but I also talk about from an instructor perspective, we have little help buttons available across any of the screens that you're in. That goes straight to our knowledge base, and our knowledge base I think is really great. It provides you both visuals as well as video clips on how to set everything up specifically in our system, which means also in Brightspace. So that should be helpful as well. Okay, I am going to show you that's it from an AI perspective. I mean, that's not it. There's so many opportunities to use this in really cool ways. Again, think about screen share when you're thinking about disciplines where you want to validate authentically that the learners are who they are. But also for those folks who may do physical skills training of any kind. Can't remember, I might be missing some of the ones that you focus on. But if you have any students who need to be in the lab, or like nursing who need to take blood pressure, you can still use the AI. And what you can just do is make sure the instructions ask the learner to be or descriptive of what they're doing on screen. So I am touching the patient's arm, or I am doing this in the lab. I am now doing this step. As long as they're verbally articulating what they're doing, we have lots of successes where the AI is still able to provide really valuable feedback to learners on whether they're staying on track or not. That's because we don't see anything on screen from the AI perspective. We only know what the learners are saying. And we do that on purpose because we want to live in a world right now where the AI is protecting personally identifiable information. So we don't know, the gender. We don't know, anything prescriptive about them. There's no bias from that perspective. We just automatically transcribe what they're saying and then do the analysis from there. So it's still very valuable for physical skill demonstration. You just need to be very prescriptive in the instructions that they need to speak about what they're doing. So I want to show you with the couple seconds we have left, and then I'm happy to stay as long as needed for questions. But interactive video, just because Craig brought this up. This one is less to do with AI, like I mentioned at the beginning, and more to do with that challenge of I have all this video in my course, and I just need to know my learners watched it. I need to know that they understand it, and I need to know that they're engaged. I'm going to come off camera again here because I got to go on camera in the platform. And that is really easy to do with interactive video. So I don't have time to show the setup, but it's basically take your video content in a video file, so MP4, for example, you upload it into our system, and it allows you to pick times along the video. You can just really easily select a timestamp, at the 4-second mark, you want to have a knowledge check, or at the 10-second mark, and you decide how often you want the learner to have knowledge checks along the way. Now, I'll show you what this looks like, and then you can ask all the questions in the world. This is a silly, cheesy video. I wish it was a better one, but it's just about the impact that social media has on students in school. It'll just be really quick. So as a learner, I just get the instructions. Make sure to watch this video. You're going to be asked to respond to knowledge checks. Okay, let me make this a bit bigger. Oops, smaller. And all I have to do is begin my assignment. So here's just one simple example. I have decided my first knowledge check needs to be a multiple choice question. I have 2 options here. I can use this as a pure quiz where whether they get the right answer or the wrong answer matters. That'll be converted to a percentage and off to the gradebook it goes. Or you can have it set up as an engagement activity where if they get it wrong, that's fine, but it's going to rewind to the last time they got a question correct, which kind of ensures that, problem of are they listening, are they paying attention? I'm going to go ahead and get it correct just so we can move on. So good grades, submit my answer. You have full flexibility over what this text says. So, if I chose working in the cafeteria, that was wrong. I could explain why that was wrong. I can kind of use it as an opportunity for some additional kind of training along the way. So now I'm going to hit continue. So here's the second one, which you're now kind of familiar with based on the other one, is we have the option for you to have a video-based response. Are you aware colleges are reviewing your social media accounts? No, I didn't actually know that, and I can kind of talk about it. Or more often than not, we're seeing a lot of scenario-based videos. So maybe this was a second language training course where I've just watched a clip of somebody speaking in French, and now I'm going to react to it, or it could be, here's something that happened in a lab, what went wrong, and I have the opportunity to call out what I've seen on camera. Just a way of doing kind of longer form responses, and also kind of personalize what I want to say. I will call out with this interactive video today, we don't have AI features. And I say today because we're always working on new and exciting things. So if you do choose to have the learner respond to video questions along the way, those will have to be manually reviewed by yourselves once they've submitted it. But we are working one day on having some AI features in this workflow itself. So those are the 2, multiple choice or video response today. These videos can be upwards of 2 hours. We have huge file sizes. We don't charge institutions for video storage or access, so this is unlimited. Don't worry about it. Doesn't count towards Brightspace storage either, so use it to your heart's desire. And everything can have closed captions automatically put on that if you need that as well. Okay, I talked pretty quickly there. I apologize, we kind of came up to time. I can stay as long as needed. If it's easier, unmute or just chat away and I can answer as many questions as possible. Question around, can you submit a rubric?
Sorry.
I'll pause, you go ahead.
Just the last thing was particularly interesting to me, and I think that you said this, but I just wanted to double check.
Yeah.
So we do all of our lectures as video lectures, and we do a flipped classroom. And so having enough space to put all of these videos up there to start with would be very significant. So you were saying that that should not be an issue, that, if we upload, 30 hours worth of video content, it's not going to be limited?
Correct, but I will put a caveat on that for them to watch back those, it would be in an assignment workflow like this, which means they can't fast forward and they can't rewind. They would have to watch the video continuously. They can pause it and come back to it. That's not a problem. But it wouldn't be until they've completed watching the whole thing that you could then release that same video again as a post instruction, and they can watch it whenever they want. But it is set up as an assignment where they need to consume it from beginning to end in order to then have access to it as often as they need, if that makes sense.
That actually sounds wonderful. That sounds
Okay.
perfect.
Because yeah, you can then
Okay.
validate that your learner has watched every, if that is a requirement of the course, is that they have to
Yes.
watch the lecture. That is
Yes.
an amazing way to do it. They're forced to watch it in real time. You can even pop up
I love this.
knowledge checks, and then you can release it afterwards as an asset that they can watch as many times as they want.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm so glad I attended today.
Awesome. Great to hear. So one of the questions in the chat was around, can you submit a rubric along with the course content to help guide the AI, or have the AI use a rubric? This one is an interesting conversation because I want to be very clear that you can use a rubric because our system supports rubrics, and that would be you manually evaluating the learner and choosing the blocks of the rubric to get to a final score, which goes to the gradebook. The other option is using smart scoring, which isn't technically a rubric, but we've seen a lot of our education customers just take the rubric content and create a text file and put that into our AI generator, which will then turn around and create those learning objectives and success criteria, which is just a different format of the same rubric. But I just like to make sure I don't call them the same thing because they technically aren't the same thing. So highly recommend. You guys have access to this today. You could absolutely play with that. Take all your rubric, text or success criteria and put it in and see kind of how that evolves in a smart scoring perspective. And yes, I won't be offended if anybody has to drop, please do. But if anybody else has questions, you can unmute, or Craig if I've missed anything. I'm not sure why this chat is being so hard for me, but
Craig had to jump
oh,
off,
he had to
so
go
he
too.
left me monitoring your chat, but I don't see anything in the chat that you haven't covered, other than a great bunch of thank yous.
Awesome.
So if she missed a question, if you could unmute and ask real quick. Going once, going twice. more thank yous in case
That's
you
great.
can't see those.
Well, and what I'll do is, if I can type this past. Hopefully I spelled that right. I think I did. There's my email if anybody needs it. Otherwise, you guys can access me through Abby or Craig. But
Thank you so much for coming today, and have a lovely day.
Yes, thanks, guys.
Bye.